Welcome back. Well, the ANC Women's League is currently holding an International Women's Day dialogue out at Luthuli House under the UN theme, "The Time is Now." Rural and urban women activists uniting to transform women's lives. Let's go there live and see what's happening.
Let me go to my left. Comrade Barbara, the Women's League president spoke about the girl child. Now, you've been, before you were MEC for finance, you were MEC for education. What are the issues in terms of girl children, young women, and are we making progress in terms of gender parity? I mean, for example, Gauteng, our theme is about urban and rural women. What are we doing in terms of the progress with girl children in the province?
Thank you very much, Comrade Phoebe, and can I acknowledge all of our distinguished fellow panelists and all of our sisters who are here tonight. Happy Women's Day to all of you. Comrade Phoebe, when I was listening to Comrade Batabile, I thought that maybe it's important to talk about opportunities and threats, because we are in a sense in a situation where we do have certain opportunities, but as we've already heard from you, there are considerable threats to progress. So on the side of opportunities, I think that our ANC government overall has done reasonably well, let me say, in urban areas, because I think there are others here who are more qualified to talk about rural areas, in terms of access to certain basic services and certain basic things that have the potential to improve the lives of women. So the fact that we have a government that is committed to issues of primary health care, we know that the main beneficiaries of primary health care are women and their young children. Our very, very big program against HIV and AIDS, and in particular a very, very big program against antiretrovirals. We know that women are the main beneficiaries of that program, and that program has made very substantial progress in terms of extending life expectancy and making sure that women are around to mother their children and give their children a better chance in life. Here in Gauteng, I think there are some very interesting figures that I thought I would share with you. So we've got 2.3 million children in the state education system in the province, and it's almost exactly half and half are girls and boys. But when you get to matric level, that is very interesting. And in our province, what we found is that girls have a better chance of remaining in school until they reach matric level, and a better chance of moving from grade 11 to grade 12 than boys. So in our province of Gauteng, 53% of girls who reach, 53% of learners who reach grade 12 are female. In terms of learners who start grade 1 and who reach matric, here in Gauteng, we have the best flow-through rate in the country. So what that means is of every 10 children who start grade 1, 7 reach matric. But what is interesting is 73%, so 7.5% of those who flow through the system are girls. So girls have a better chance of surviving and getting to the end of their school year. Of the 97,000 learners who sat matric last year in Gauteng, 53,000 were girls. And of those who wrote and who got a bachelor pass, in other words, who qualified, amongst those who qualified to go to university, 57% were girls. So I think that the reason I'm quoting all of these statistics is because I think that the role of government in providing opportunities for women and for girls is very important and very significant in our country and in our society. The question is, where do the threats come in? And I think that the threats come in two places. The one place is in the home. And I think while we are managing to provide very good services in our government institutions in many instances, we're not managing to build social cohesion in the home and in the family. And so we know that girl children are, 1 in 3 girl children are likely to be abused in their own homes, and they are likely to be abused in their own homes by a close male relative. What we also know is that it is more difficult for women once they have finished school to get into the workplace, and once they get into the workplace, they are likely to earn less than their male counterparts. They are likely to remain outside of decision-making structures in the workplace, and they are likely, in many instances, to, I think Comrade Batabile talked about the kind of compromises that women often have to make in order to remain in their jobs, because they are asked to do things to keep their jobs that have nothing to do with the formal conditions of work that exist in those workplaces. What we also know in Gauteng, which is the richest province in this country, is that 1 in 3 people are out of work, and 1 in 3 people are living in conditions of poverty. And the face of those people who are out of work and who are living in conditions of poverty, that face is female, African, and young. So I think that despite what we are succeeding in doing as government, there's a very, very big task that still remains to be done. You spoke earlier, Comrade Phoebe, about activism. I think that the issue of social activism remains very, very important. And I think last year there were a number of campaigns against femicide and against the abuse of women and girls in their homes. And I think that campaign is really important. It's a campaign that we have to continue with, because what I think all of us understand is that far from a situation where patriarchy is on the back foot, the thing that scares me most is that patriarchy seems to be resurgent in our society, and it seems to be taking a very vicious and personalized form in the way in which it relates in particular to young women. I read a very interesting article a couple of years ago about femicide in South America. And what that article was arguing is that in societies where at a formal level there is gender transformation, there can be an informal fight back against that gender transformation in society, and that fight back sometimes takes, or often takes, the form of very extreme violence towards women in their homes and in their families from their own family members. So, and when I read that article, I said to myself, that's very interesting, because I think we can all relate to that particular argument. Last point is a point about research, because as a government we have a whole basket of social services, and as I've said before, many of those services in that basket are targeted at women and benefit women. One of the things that I think we need to be starting to do much more systematically is to look at what's in that basket and to say which things are working well and we would want to upscale, and which of those things we might want to pull back and say, actually, that's not giving us the kind of outcomes that we want. There could be other and better things that we could do. Thank you very much, Comrade Phoebe.
Okay, let's shift gear a bit. I think that one of the reality about the African continent and about South Africa is that we're majority young. And often when we talk about the women's movement, we see it as over 40, with children, mothers, etc. But we're a continent and we're a country that's predominantly young. And we're not just talking about children, but we're also talking about young women. So the question to the DSG of the Youth League is,
All right, and those were your biggest news this afternoon, carefully selected by expert news gathering teams, and of course brought to you with a smile by myself, Miss Alicia Nhlanhla-Jali. I leave you in the capable hands of Question Time, and I'll be back with you again on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. with a fresh round of all news, business, and a whole rundown of the weekend sporting action update. Until then, have yourself a great evening. This is SABC News.